yourself a lot. If she asks about your future, she is already thinking about you romantically. Most men completely miss this signal and ruin their chances with one wrong answer. Stay until the end because I'm revealing exactly what to say that makes her even more attracted. Let's go. 1. Listen. I need you to pay very close attention to what I'm about to share with you because this could completely change the way you read romantic signals for the rest of your life. As a relationship psychologist who's spent over 15 years studying human attraction patterns, I've discovered something absolutely fascinating that most men completely miss. There's one specific question that women ask when they're romantically interested in you, and it's so subtle, so cleverly disguised as casual conversation that 90% of guys don't even realize what's happening. But here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. And when a woman asks you about your future plans, your dreams, or where you see yourself in 5 years, she's not just making a small talk. She is immediately placing herself into that future with you. She's trying to figure out if there's room for her in your life story. Think about it for a second. When you're genuinely interested in someone romantically, you don't just care about who there right now in this moment. You start wondering about compatibility on a deeper level. You start asking yourself questions like, does this person want the same thing I want? Are we headed in the same direction? Could I actually build something meaningful with them? That's exactly what she's doing when she asks about your future. And the fact that she's even curious enough to ask means you've already crossed a threshold in her mind from just a friend or acquaintance to someone she's seriously considering as a romantic partner, too. Now, let me break down the psychology behind why this specific question is such a powerful indicator of romantic interest, because understanding the why will help you recognize that every single time it happens. When human begins develop romantic feelings for someone, our brains automatically start doing something called future projection. Is a psychological mechanism where we unconsciously begin to imagine scenarios with that person in our future. This isn't something we consciously decide to do. It happens automatically because our minds are trying to assess compatibility, and potential women in particular are incredibly skilled at this type of forward thinking. When it comes to relationships, society and evolution have both played a role in making women more selective and thoughtful about romantic partners, which means they're naturally going to investigate whether someone fits into their long-term vision before they fully invest emotionally. So when she starts asking you about your career goals, where you want to live someday, where you want kids, what kind of lifestyle you're working toward, or even seemingly random questions about your values and priorities, what she's really doing is gathering data. She's building a mirror picture of who you are and whether that picture aligns with who she is and and what she wants. The beautiful part about this is that she's not just passively wondering, she's actively trying to figure it out by engaging you in conversation, which means that she cares enough about the answer to actually ask. Real quick, if you're finding this valuable, smash that like button right now and subscribe so you never miss psychology secrets that actually transform your dating life. Seriously, it helps more than you know. And now let's keep going. 3. Here's where most guys mess this up completely, and I don't want you to make the same mistake because it could miss you a real connection with someone who's genuinely interested. When a woman asks you about your future, your automatic response might be to give a super vague answer or to brush it off like it's no big deal. You might say something like, "Oh, I don't know, I'm just taking things as they come," or "I haven't really thought about it that much. And look, I get it, maybe you're trying to seem laid back and easygoing, or maybe you genuinely haven't mapped out every detail of your next decade. But here's what you need to understand. When you give a vague or dismissive answer to her question about your future, you're accidentally sending the message that you don't have direction, ambition, or clarity about what you want in life. And for a woman who's thinking about you romantically, that's a massive red flag. She's not necessarily expecting you to have a 10-year plan written out with bullet points and spreadsheets, but she does want to see that you've thought about where you're going and that you're intentional about building a life that means something to you. So instead of dodging the question or giving a half-hearted response, use this as an opportunity to show her who you really are. Share your dreams with her. Talk about what excites you. Let her see the passion and purpose build your choices. And when you open up about your future in an authentic way, you're giving her exactly what she's looking for, a glimpse into whether you're someone she can build something real with. For now, let's talk about the different variations of this future focused question, because it doesn't always come in the same package and you need to be able to recognize it no matter how it's presented. Sometimes she'll ask directly about your career. Where do you see yourself professionally in a few years? What are you working toward? Are you happy with where you're at right now? Other times the question might be more lifestyle oriented. Do you think you'll always live in this city, or do you wanna move somewhere else eventually? What does your ideal life look like? If you could design your perfect day 5 years from now, what would it look like? And then there's the deeper, more values-based versions. What matters most to you in life? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Do you believe in marriage, or do you think it's just a piece of paper? All of these questions, no matter how they're worded, are variations of the same core inquiry. She's trying to understand your trajectory, your values, and whether there's alignment between your past and hers. One of the most common variations I see is when a woman asks about relationships in general, like, what do you think makes a relationship work long term, Or have you ever been in love before, and what did you learn from it? These are random philosophical discussions. She's testing the waters to see how you think about love, commitment, and partnership, because she is wondering if you're capable of being the kind of partner she's looking for. 5. Let me share a real life example that perfectly illustrates this dynamic, because I think I'll help you see exactly how this plays out in everyday interactions. I was coaching a client named Marcus a few months ago, and he came to me completely confused about a woman had been talking to for about 3 weeks. They'd been on a couple of casual dates and nothing super serious yet, and he thought things were going well, but he couldn't quite figure out if she was actually interested or just being friendly. Then one evening, they were grabbing coffee together, and she asked him this question: "So, do you think you'll stay in your current job for a while, or are you working towards something bigger?" Marcus, being a typical guy who doesn't overlook this thing, just shrugged and said, "I mean, the job's fine for now. I'm not really stressing about it." And he noticed immediately that her energy shifted. She got a little quieter, seemed less engaged, and the conversation started to feel more surfaceable after that. When B told me his story, I explained to him what had actually happened. In that moment, she wasn't just asking about his job because she was curious about his employment status. She was asking because she wanted to know if he was ambitious, if he had goals, if he was someone who was actively building toward a future rather than just floating through life. And when he gave that vague, unbothered response, she interpreted it as a lack of direction and drive. We worked on helping Marcus understand how to communicate his aspiration more clearly. And the next time they talked, he opened up about his actual goals and what he was working toward. The difference was night and day. She became way more engaged, asked more questions, and their connection deepened significantly. Drop a comment right now. Has a woman ever asked you about your future plans? What did you say, and what happened next? I'm reading every single comment. 6. Now, I want to address something really important that a lot of people get confused about, and it's the difference between a woman who's genuinely interested in your future because she's thinking about you romantically versus someone who's just making polite conversation. There's the distinction matters because you don't wanna misread signals and assume every woman who asks about your career is secretly in love with you. So here's how you tell the difference. Pay attention to the follow-up when a woman is romantically interested and she asks about your future. She doesn't just ask the question and move on. She leans in, she asks clarifying questions, she wants details. She'll say things like, "Oh wow, that's interesting. What made you decide to pursue that?" Or "How long have you been working toward that goal?" or what's the first step you're taking to make that happen. She's engaged, she's curious, and she's actively listening to your answers because those answers matter to her. On the other hand, if someone is just being polite and making a small talk, they'll ask the question and nod along to your answer and then quickly change the subject to something else. There's no depth to the conversation, nor real investment in understanding your response. Another key indicator is whether she starts sharing her own future plans after you've shared yours. If she opens up about her own goals, dreams, and aspirations, that's a huge sign that she's trying to create a mutual exchange of vulnerability and see if your visions for the future are compatible. It's like she's laying her cards on the table and saying, here's where I'm headed. Does that work with where you're going? 7. Here's a psychological principle that's going to help you understand this on an even deeper level, and it's something called the reciprocal disclosure theory. Basically, this theory explains that when people are interested in forming a close relationship with someone, whether it's romantic or otherwise, they engage in a pattern of gradually sharing more personal and meaningful information about themselves, and they expect the other person to reciprocate. This creates a cycle of increasing intimacy and trust. So when a woman asks you about your future and then shares her own dreams and plans with you, she's actively participating in this reciprocal disclosure process. She's saying, I'm willing to be vulnerable with you and show you who I really am and what I want out of life, and I'm hoping you'll do the same with me. This is a massive indicator of romantic interest because we don't engage in this type of deep, future-focused sharing with just anyone. We reserve it for people who matter to us, people we're considering as potential long-term partners. Think about your own life for a second. Do you sit around with random acquaintances talking about your deepest dreams and where you wanna be in 10 years? Probably not. You save those conversations for people you trust, people you're close to, people you're invested in building a relationship with. The same is true for her. If she's initiating these deep, meaningful conversations about the future with you, it's because you're not just anyone to her anymore. You're someone special, someone she's actively thinking about in a romantic context. 8. Let's get practical now because I want you to walk away from this with actionable strategies you can use immediately in your own dating life and relationships. When a woman asks you about your future, here's exactly how you should respond to maximize the connection and show her that you're someone worth investing in romantically. First, be specific and passionate. Don't just say, yeah, I want to advance in my career. Instead, paint a picture for her. Say something like, I'm really excited about the direction I'm heading professionally because I've been working on developing this specific skill set, and within the next few years, I want to be in a position where I'm leading projects that actually make a difference in people's lives. See the difference? One answer is flat and forgettable. The other is vibrant and engaging. Second, connect your future goals to your values. Women are deeply attracted to men who have a clear sense of what matters to them and why. So, if you're talking about wanting to travel more, don't just list countries you wanna visit. Explain why travel is important to you. Maybe it's about expanding your perspective, experiencing different cultures, or challenging yourself to step outside your comfort zone. When you connect your goals to your deeper values, you're showing her that you're thoughtful and intentional about how you live your life. Third, and this is crucial, ask her about her future too. Don't let this be a one-sided conversation. Show genuine curiosity about where she's headed, what she's working toward, and what lights her up. When you engage with her dreams the same way she's engaging with yours, you're creating that reciprocal disclosure I mentioned earlier, and you're building a foundation for real intimacy and connection. Comment below what's the most surprising question a woman has asked you that made you think she might be interested. 9. There's another layer to this that I think is absolutely fascinating, and it has to do with how women use these future focused questions to assess emotional availability and relationship readiness. Here's what I mean. When a woman is thinking about you romantically, she's not just wondering if you have goals and ambition, she's also trying to figure out if you're emotionally available and ready for a real relationship, or if you're still hung up on your ex, emotionally closed off, or just looking for something casual with no real depth. So sometimes the question about your future will include relationship focused elements. She might ask, do you see yourself getting married someday, or are you more of a bachelor for life, or what's your take on long-term relationships? Do you think people can really make it work nowadays? These questions are designed to gauge where you stand on commitment and whether you're open to building something serious with the right person. Now, here's where a lot of guys panic and either overshare or completely shut down. You don't wanna do either. If you say something like, oh yeah, I definitely wanna get married and have kids, I'm ready right now, that can come across as desperate or like you're just looking for any warm body to fill a role in your life. On the flip side, if you say, nah, I don't really believe in all that relationship stuff, I'm good on my own, you're essentially telling her that she's wasting her time if she's looking for something real. The balanced approach is to be honest about your openness to a meaningful relationship without coming across as desperate or overly eager. You might say something like, I'm definitely open to a serious relationship with the right person. I'm not in a rush, but I also know what I want. And when I find someone who aligns with my values and vision for life, I'm ready to invest in building something real together. 10. So here's what I want you to take away from all of this, and this is the part that's gonna change everything for you if you really internalize it. When a woman asks you about your future, your dreams, your goals or your vision for where you're headed in life. She's doing something incredibly brave and vulnerable. She's opening the door to a deeper connection and inviting you to step through it with her. She's saying without actually saying the words out loud, I'm thinking about you romantically, and I need to know if you're someone I can build a future with. This is your moment to show up authentically, to share who you really are, and to demonstrate that you're a man with purpose, direction, and the emotional depth to engage a meaningful connection. Don't brush off her questions, don't give vague answers, and don't miss the opportunity that's right in front of you. Instead, lean into the conversation, be honest, be specific, and be intentional about showing her that you're someone worth her time and energy. And remember, this isn't just about impressing her or saying what you think she wants to hear. It's about genuine connection and finding out if you're truly compatible, if your futures don't align. It's better to know that now rather than 6 months or 6 years down the road. But if they do align, if you discover through these conversations that you're both headed in the same direction with similar values and goals, then you've just unlocked something incredibly powerful. The foundation for a relationship that's built on mutual understanding, shared vision, and real romantic potential. Pay attention to these moments, value them for what they're, and use them as opportunities for something extraordinary with someone who's already thinking about you in ways you might not have even realized. If this open your eyes, send this video to someone who needs to hear it. Maybe even the person you're thinking about right now. Have a lovely time ahead. See you in the next one.